Here we are in section 4.1, exercises part C, with the answers to number 11 through number 14. Number 11, use a spreadsheet. So we're going to have to pull out a spreadsheet here to make a table of the growth of a savings account for 20 years. So we've got to use the savings plan formula that begins with a $200 value. So this is our P, principal. And remember, that's an investment from us, so it's going to be a negative when it goes into Excel. Receives a $50 deposit, that's going to be a negative, and that's your payment that will go in each month, and grows at 6% interest rate. So that's rate, and this is 20 years, that's going to be our time. Yeah, so the rate, time, and notice it's each month. So that means we're going to have N equals 12. The table should show the yearly values at the end of each year. So we're going to have to create a row that has the formula at the end of each year. So let's pull up our Excel spreadsheet. Here we go. And we've got to have here the time and the rate and the number of times each year and the principal and the payment. Good, good, good. So this column, the time, we've got to have a row for the first year, the second year, the third year, and so on. So we'll leave that right there for a minute. This is going to be a 6% interest rate. Let's write that down, 6%. Good. The number of times per year that it happens, this N, is 12. And that will remain the same all the way down through each one. The principal we started with was a negative 200. And the payment, now the negative was because we were investing that money and it's going away from us. The payment is a negative 50. That again, negative is because it's going away from us. And then what are some other things that we're going to need? Oh, for Excel, we can't use 6%. It needs us to figure out the rate, R-A-T-E, rate, for each period, for each month. We use an equal sign to say, hey, we're going to figure this out. It's going to be 0.06, that's 6%, divided by the 12. And that will remain constant for our entire time. So that will be the periodic rate to go into the formula. And then the other thing that the formula will need is the number of periods. So that will start out with 12 in the first year. The second year we will have 24, and the third year 36, and so on. All right, let's see if we can figure out the final value using these formula spreadsheets. So the value will be, we're going to use equal final value, and then we have parentheses. So the rate is this rate right here, not that rate over there. It's the rate for each period. Then it says the number of periods. We've written that down. Good, and that will change for each year, will have been the number of periods that has been compounded. Comma, now the payment. The payment is negative $50 away from us into this account every single month, and the principal value, it was at negative 200, which is $200 initial investment from us. And then you don't need to have this type if you don't want to. So into the parentheses and hit enter. Good, good, good. So let's fill this out. Let's copy these guys down. So you can hit Control C and Control V, or you can just go like this and it will fill all that out. And let's do it one more time so we can see it filled out all the way to 3 years. Okay, and let's copy this formula down so we have the first 3 years here. Oh, that's a little bit, there we go. And you can see that the value at the end of the third year is growing quite a bit. So let's first take this column and extend it down to year number 20. There we go. And then these guys can all extend down that same distance. Let's extend them down and extend them down. And yeah, let's double check that everything works. This rate has remained constant at 6%. The number of times per year has remained constant. The principal always started out at 200. The payment was negative 50. But notice that this changed, and at the end of 20 years has been 240 months. And so we end up with $23,764.09. We can do this just to make it look a little bit nicer. Put a little border around it, and it looks like a box. Let's check our answer. And here's what the answer to number 11 looks like. That's great. Okay, great. Let's look at number 12. It says use the spreadsheet to make a graph of the 20-year table that we just created up here in number 11. So let's create a graph on this thing. Well, we want to take these values and we want to insert a graph. Right here is a little 2-line chart that'll show us, that it just grows up and up and up. We can put little squares on it like that. Around here, anywhere we want to put it. So that's what the chart looks like, up to almost $27,000, and you can see it grow at the end of every year. When you do your own, it will look very similar to this, and you'll have a growth chart. It may not grow as high, you may not be able to put that much money, or you may be able to put more into your savings account, but you can see what it is planned so that you can have a final value at the end of 10 years. And so you would just click, hey, let's save this, and submit that as a portfolio assignment when you do your own. All right, number 13, it says how much money was paid into the savings account over the 20 years and how much interest was earned. Oh, those are interesting questions. Well, let's try it. Let's count up how much we actually put in there. So we put in $200 and then we added $50 for each of 240 months. Let's punch that in our calculator and see what we get. 200 plus 50 times 240. And we could have done it on Excel as well. $12,200. So $12,200, that's how much money was actually put in. And if we go back and check, that's more than $12,200. $23,764.09. $23,764.09. That's our total value. And if we only put this much in, then the rest must be interest. So 12,200 is what we put in. So if we subtract that, subtract 12,200, we end up with, let's punch that in, 23,764.09 subtract 12,200 equals 11,564.09. 11,564.09. And this is the amount of interest that we gained. Look at that. The interest almost equals the amount of investment that we got. So we almost doubled the money that was invested. Let's double check those answers. Okay, and here we have it. Number 13 is $12,200 in investment and that much, $11,564.09 in interest. All right, let's look at number 14. It says how much interest is earned if the account grows at 9% instead of 6%. Well, let's look at it. Let's pull up our Excel spreadsheet here and let's change it. Change that 6% right there to a 9%. And now let's copy this down and see what changes as far as the value goes. So this then has to be equal 0.09 divided by 12. So you'll see it made a difference there. Now let's copy that down all the way. And we now have a different amount of money. So in this case at 9%, we got a total of $34,596.17. $34,596.17. This is the total value. But notice we didn't actually invest more money. So to find the interest, we subtract 12,200 from that. Let's pull up that calculator. 34,596.17, 12,200, and we get 22,396. So the interest here is 22,396.17. Let's check our answer with the book. Yep, 22,396 interest for a total of $34,596.17 for the interest. Good.